Welcome back to Mega Man X6. Sigma's staring at us, menacingly, and we can't have that, so it's time for X to beat him up again. So yeah, just like how X wasn't featured in the last episode because I didn't want to play that stage a second time, Zero's not appearing in this one. Except as, in any cutscenes he might be in, but yeah, no. I'm not pulling an X5, I just want to play this once. Also worth noting, unlike an X5, there is no way to get the ultimate armor outside of just using the code for it, so yeah, X5 is the only game we've played so far where you can just find the ultimate armor out in the wild without any kind of code. That being said, though, it's boss rush time, and I don't really have anything to mention outside of just, dang, yeah, those are some tragic backstories. Honestly, the game tries to make me feel sorry for Gate, but I well and truly do not care for Gate as a character. I think he was always just kind of a terrible person. I do feel bad for his creations, though. Most of them didn't deserve what they got. So I guess in the meantime, I'll mention everything else. So first off, Isaac. We kind of just skipped over him entirely because Zero just did not care about him. Even though he was very encouraging to Zero. He's like, ah, dang, Zero, you got this. Oh, Zero, you're so cool. But Zero's like, whatever. And then he leaves. So in case you're wondering, in the X version of the cutscene, Alia will refer to the erasure incident, which, again, is a thing that happens in the Extreme games, which I'm not going to cover, so I'm glad I played as Zero there, so nobody had to mention that thing. If you're wondering what that is, though, it's basically just, what if a Reploid's soul got fucking killed? But, the robot version of that. And that's more or less what happens to him there. It's just, his body's on the ground, doesn't seem to have any injuries. Who knows what happened to him? He got soul killed, except kinda not, because again, he encouraged Zero. So, if you're wondering, yes, Isaac is kinda supposed to be reminiscent of Dr. Wily. According to Haruki Suetsugu, his comment specifically says, I was thinking about a certain scientist while designing this character. The horizontal piece on his head is supposed to be hair. I also gave him a beard and something that looks like a necktie. So yeah, not out and out stated to be, reminiscent of Wily, but essentially, yeah, that's Wily. That's supposed to be reminiscent of Wily for some reason, but we're never really given an actual reason why. And I wish they either did not try to throw Wily in there, or actually committed to the idea of the future being haunted by ghosts of the past, because that would at least give the light capsules some kind of significance, other than just, this is what the upgrades have always been, and we're not going to bother changing it, even though, flavor-wise, it's just kind of stupid that there's more light capsules. It's... I've said it before, I really wish over time in the series those just got replaced by, like, Dr. Kane giving you things, instead of finding old bits of tech that Light left behind, because he left so many behind! He had so many ideas for weapons for X, he had all sorts of cool armor ideas for this robot that he really was hoping would not be fighting, but was absolutely certain he would be, and he was correct about it. Yeah, if they had actually committed to that being a thing at all, then it would have been nice. I would have been cool with that, if there was a reason for it, but there isn't. Also, for those of you who aren't very well versed in fan theories, and to be fair, I haven't really looked into this one either, but like, people are also thinking like, Sergi's might also be Dr. Wily. Sergi's from X2. Because he's also a robot old man who seems to take special interest in Zero. But just like with Isaac, I don't care. They don't do anything with it, so I just want him to be an original old man. And... The original old man, do not steal. Anyway, though, yeah, like, they just don't commit to it, so I don't find it interesting, so I kinda just want all of it to go away. I want X to be its own thing, but we're really at the point where X is having a hard time being its own thing as a series. Like, one of my problems with the X series as a whole is I think it has a really hard time actually following through on, like, any of its punches, but playing through the series now, it's mostly X6's fault so far. Like, obviously X4 or 5 could have committed a little more to their plots, but, like, they tried to do things. And that's far more than I can say about X6. Like, X5 was a game about loss, and it was a game about trying to reconcile, what you have done in the past with what you're trying to do now. And, like, even in the face of this apocalypse where everybody should be working together, nobody likes the Maverick Hunters anymore. And, like, I think that's just a cool thought, but, like, it really doesn't matter in the long run. X6 just decides, no, that's not a thing anymore. The reason nobody's paying the Maverick Hunters any mind is because they're just strapped for resources. Also, if you're wondering, I have no clue what this weapon does charged. Couldn't figure it out. Anyway, though, like, yeah, so it's as simple as that, and, like, they get lumped in with Repliforce, who's also sort of still around. But, like, that also makes Repliforce kind of uninteresting, because everybody's just in the same boat of, like, okay, it's the end of the world, and everybody is really thin on resources. Are we ignoring the fact that basically all of Repliforce is dead, though? Like, they failed their whole thing, and things have only gotten worse for them over time. Like, they lost their main leader, and then several more people even after the organization was just on a downturn. But yeah, they kind of just hand-wave it as, yeah, no, they're strapped for resources like everybody else. We're going to nod to Repliforce still existing, but we're not gonna do anything with that. But yeah, no, then the Maverick Hunters get lumped in with that, and it's like, okay, that seems overly simplistic. But like, yeah, X6 not only pulls, like, every single punch, but it also just decides, nah, to, like, anything X4 or 5 brought up, and that's what I think is so annoying to me about this game, and why I think it's so dull. It just, I normally don't like using retconning as, like, a complaint, you know? Because oftentimes, it might not even be a retcon. A lot of people just like to throw out retcon as a thing, but, you know, it is absolutely a retcon. It's just a whole lot of things happened in X5, and then X6 says, nuh-uh. But then the worst part is they don't bring anything to the table. Like, whatsoever. The plot is wholly uninteresting. And to a certain extent, they are trying to sort of set the tone with gameplay again. They're trying to set a end-of-the-world tone by having you rescue Reploids and having all these weird zombie ghosts in the field. But I just don't think it sticks the landing nearly as much as X5 did. And then anything X5 tried to do that was interesting in its storyline, X6 just doesn't care about.
Ready?
And I think that is part of what makes X6 just kind of completely flat as a game. Or at the very least, the same reason I don't like the plot is also the same reason I think a lot of people don't like the gameplay is, it's really just kind of disinterested as well. Like, it definitely feels like it's trying to be a little different, but not different enough. And I think that just really kind of hurts it. Like, as much as X7 is not going to be a great experience to play, I will say, they at least make some bold choices, and don't get me wrong, plenty of people disagree with their choices, and we're absolutely going to see a character that a lot of people consider a scrappy in the X series, but X7 actually tries to do things sometimes. And while they're not successful, it's not like X6. Now that being said, X6 isn't completely without things that are interesting. Take Sigma, for example. I adore this entrance, and I choose to disbelieve Sigma when he says he could have come back on his own. Because this is the shittiest that Sigma has ever been resurrected. Like, he's clearly a zombie. He's got that stutter. He starts the battle by just warping in and fucking falling on the ground. He just eats shit right from the word go. And he has to stagger up. He's still trying to act tough, of course, but it doesn't matter. I've got zombie metal Storm Eagle on my side. Also, if you're wondering, yeah, the chip I have is the thing that is just auto-charging regular Buster and the special weapons too, which has been both a blessing and a curse throughout this entire video. Anyway, stage 1 fucking sucks. Yeah, so Sigma's first form is not particularly good. He doth suck ass. But what of his second form, however? Yeah, X is already certain there's gonna be another Sigma, and he's correct, because there's always more than one Sigma. And Sigma's speech has gotten even worse. This would be extremely hard to voice act. People were probably relieved that this is through text, but like, it conveys the fact that, yeah, no, Sigma is just in absolute disarray. And I love that. Okay. So yes, Sigma's back again, but considering X6 is disinterested in just about everything, he was gonna come back no matter what. At least they tried to do something interesting with Sigma. He was supposed to perma-die, somebody brought him back, or he brought himself back, whatever. Either way, he comes back wrong. And now he's just in a mess. This is the best he's got, is just Big Copper Skull Sigma, or as his proper name is, Hell Sigma. He's also got an incredible theme. I really like this final boss theme. I still think X4's final boss theme is my favorite, but this one's pretty good. So, he certainly is powerful, I'll give him that. Though his Goo Sigmas do actually drop items, which is definitely an advantage in this one. And you're going to want that, because the big thing about this fight is, when he's not trying to Goo Sigma, he's trying to hit you with a huge attack. Like, whenever he has that target out, that is one of his easier attacks to deal with, because he just makes a big beam where you are. That's an even larger beam. His attacks are not impossible to dodge, but you do not want to deal with them. So pretty much this is just a matter of managing everything until he opens his mouth, and then you shoot him with a big rock. Now, I think we're at the point where he's gonna... Nope, not yet. There's an attack that he uses that's actually really subtle, and, like, that's the reason it's his most difficult attack, because you might not actually notice it. Yeah, that one right there. He shoots out, like, big gravity bombs. We're going to see him actually utilize that attack, because, again, it's pretty subtle. Like, the other attacks draw so much attention to Sigma that you'll know when to actually fire at him. That one, yeah, that's blink and you miss it. Yeah, he attacks so quickly, goddamn. He also has a tendency to do it multiple times in a row. Though, to be honest, that's actually kind of a relief in a way, because I feel like it's harder to deal with the Goo Sigmas overall. Mostly in that the timing of these is actually pretty varied. Like, you never know how long he's going to be doing a Goo segment for, and yeah, that's where I botched and did not realize he was going to keep going with that, so I pretty much had to utilize ultimate armors, like big super, or Giga Attack, that's what they're called. Barely use them, don't remember what they're called. Yeah, I had to use the Giga Attack, or I was not in a position to actually avoid that one. Anyway, here's the part where Sigma just starts screaming about not being able to die. It's his thing. Let him keep it. So yeah, it's not enough for me to actually be interested in anything this game does, for the most part, but I do really like that they're finally having Sigma degrade after all of this. Game after game after game of killing him and having him come back, desperately search for a new body, then attack us, and then finally having him just spread across the entire planet. We've just finally have him in a state of absolute garbage. He was just a zombie. Gate brought him back as a zombie. And I find that actually pretty interesting. And surely they'll keep it up in the next game, right? Well, whatever. Anyway, we're leaving Sigma's decapitated body behind for the ending. So, when I did X5, I spliced together the endings of that game, because they actually went together pretty well, having Zero flashing back in his final moments, and then having the moment where X moves on. Though I didn't include the bad ending, where X just gets permanent Zero amnesia. So there is a bad ending for this one, or at the very least, a Zero-less run. It's not, however, entirely Zero-less, though. If you wanted to pretend that Zero was dead forever, too bad! He still appears in the bad ending. It's just, he's hiding behind a rock and he's just going, "Good job, X. I'm gonna leave things to you from now on." And then he leaves, and X and Ollie are like, "Did you hear Zero? I think Zero was here. I think he's still alive." So you can't leave Zero, you know, supposedly dead forever. You have to acknowledge that Zero is in some capacity alive. And sending you this message. He lived, bitch. But yeah, it's... might as well not show it, because there's nothing there that is interesting. But also, I didn't record Zero's ending because there's no point to it. Zero's ending is an attempt to bridge the gap between the X series and the Zero series. It has Zero enter a capsule, and he's just like, "Alright, well, I'm not needed here anymore, goodbye everybody. Take me to the next series." And that is immediately going to be retconned. Like, there's no point in getting Zero's ending. It has no impact, it does not matter. At most, you can just assume, like, oh, this could happen down the line. Maybe this is just a scene of what happens after X8. And yeah, sure, I guess, but whatever. I said it in the Classic Series wrap-up, I don't really need a bridge between each Mega Man series. They do a good enough job at showing you what happens, anyway. Or at least the important things. I don't need to see Zero fucking murder Classic Mega Man, or whatever some fans want. But yeah, no, this is really the only ending that matters. Also, Gate's fate is kind of left ambiguous. He looks pretty dead, and he did scream very hard. But I guess he could maybe be alive. Nobody said "R.I.P. bitch," and then threw him into the ocean, or poured gasoline on him and lit him on fire. I don't know, I think all you should get better friends. Gate sucked shit. Anyway, here's the credits. I mean, most of this video has been a wrap-up for my thoughts on this game. But I guess to be more succinct about it, yeah, didn't care for this one. Though, to a certain extent, while I do really appreciate, the hack, for, you know, improving the gameplay, there are some aspects that I really want to find interesting. Like I said, it's not like this game, tries to discard the idea of setting the tone of the game through gameplay. It's just X5 did that so much better, with the whole countdown to Eurasia crashing thing. But yeah, it kinda dampens the gameplay in this one. I think a lot of what works about the earlier X games is that you can take them at your own pace. You can take them slowly if you want to, and then when you get better at the game, that's when you can do the more fast-paced, twitchy stuff. But in this game, it is absolutely, you will go at the pace the game tells you to go at. If you do not hurry your ass, this Reploid will die. Also, beautiful eyelashes, Hymax. Damn, you do a good job with those. Anyway, though, yeah, like, I think, yeah, a lot of this game is kind of disinterested in really committing to things, and the things it does try to commit to just kind of make it annoying to play. The hack helps, but I do think it cuts out the attempts to give this game its own identity through gameplay. Ultimately, I think it makes for a better playing experience to not have to deal with as many Reploids, or if the Reploids are killed, you can just try again. I don't think it's ideal. I think it's cool that they did try to give this game identity, but it just makes it annoying to play. And again, the other things that tried to make this, you know, very X1 in a way, having, you know, differences in levels based on levels you've already completed, I think they do too much. Like, it didn't happen all the time in X1, and I think being more subtle with it works better. It's a lot more in-your-face in this game, and a lot of the gimmicks are more annoying than anything else. They are obnoxious obstacles that you're going to hate dealing with. And in X1, they could manifest as things that helped you, just as much as they could manifest as things that would get in your way. Like Flame Mammoth stage becoming absolutely easy. But then you also had stuff like Spark Mandrill, the lights turning out, had its advantages, but it also had disadvantages because it just made things hard to see. X6 is just, hey, here's some really obnoxious obstacles, and I didn't care for them. If I remember correctly, you can actually turn those off with this hack. I just chose not to. I wanted to keep them. I do like showing how fans can kind of trim the fat on things and, you know, perhaps make a better experience with hindsight and less upper management pressure, but also sometimes I just like showing how does this game work in the way you're supposed to play it. Anyway, though, yeah, I feel like I've gone over everything. X6. There were some attempts, but God, I did not care for playing it. Was not a fan. I don't think X5 is any better of a game, but I would sooner play that one over X6. And with that being said, will I feel the same way about X6? Who knows? But since we don't need to figure out what erasure actually is, next time, you know what time it is. Oh, you might have been waiting for this one. It's X7. I've been Fefner. I'll see you for that. Don't cry for me. I'm already dead.